Hello, this is Matthew Armstrong and welcome to Transformation Talk. Today I've got the great pleasure of speaking with Jessica Ortner. Jessica is the producer of The Tapping Solution and also the host, the interviewer on the Tapping World Summit, which is widely successful and popular throughout the world now. So thank you very much, Jessica, for taking the time today to have a chat with us and share your experience, your knowledge on EFT, meridian tapping, and everything like that.
No, of course. I'm such a fan of yours, so it really is an honor.
Oh, thank you, Jessica. Thank you. Um, should we just start off with maybe just simply for anyone that doesn't know what EFT or meridian tapping is, just start off with what is EFT, what is tapping, and why is it effective?
Absolutely. Well,
Hmm.
many people might not. Well, actually, a lot of people are learning what tapping is, but acupuncture is definitely becoming wide known. And this is like acupuncture except without the needle. So, phew, for those people who like to, use that same system, but they're scared of needles, they
Hmm.
can use this technique. And EFT is also known as meridian tapping because you're literally tapping on meridian points. These are also acupuncture points.
Hmm.
And by stimulating these points while you're feeling stress or anxiety or in pain, what happens is it calms your entire system down to the point where you can have that limiting belief or that thought without having the physical reaction. And
Hmm.
it really is the physical reaction that stops us from doing things. And we're learning that we feel stress and anxiety and things, not just in our brain, it's not just all up here, but we feel it in our body. And that's
Yeah.
why we say, he broke my heart. I just had this gut feeling. They were a pain in my neck. We hold emotions in our body. And so what this does is it helps neutralize the tough emotions that we carry in our body. So, okay, so what is this used for? It is spreading so quickly around the world. Number one, because it's so effective for pain relief.
Hmm.
If you have a back pain or a knee pain, what we really invite you to do is, instead of looking at it in the medical sense, which is something you obviously should do, but also look at the emotional component to what could be contributing to this back pain, what could be contributing to this knee pain.
Yeah.
And when you tap and you focus on the emotions around a pain, what you'll find is that the pain will begin to subside. And I'm sure in this call we'll do I'd love to do some
Hmm.
tapping so
Yeah,
that
sure.
people can have an experience, because it's one of those things where I can continue talking about it, but the reason that so many people love it is because it's very easy to experience and to do yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, whenever I first learned about tapping many years ago, I thought, yeah, great, it can be used for maybe anxiety or just some issues like that. But like you're saying there, it can go much deeper, much further than that into serious conditions and illnesses as well. And then with the movie that you produced, the Tapping Solution, you really delve more into that with some of the people that came along and got some great results. Can you talk about maybe some of the highlights of the tapping solution doing that and some of the results maybe that people got?
Absolutely. Well, everybody was impressive, but I was there during the filming, and I personally was really impacted by two people. One was John, who is a Vietnam veteran, and he's in his late 60s, and he has had back pain since 1974. He's had four back surgeries with no success.
Hmm.
And for anyone living with pain, they know that it's not just a physical problem, but it impacts your family, it impacts your job. And so he was really having a hard time. And so we began to use tapping, and what ended up happening was he had this memory of his father, how much his father used to beat him in the back. He used to use a razor strap and punish him often. And there in the film, you see this 60-year-old man with tears in his eyes, remembering something that happened when he was 5 years old. And when he was able to tap on that memory and get to the point where he could still have the memory, but without having those really tough feelings, his back pain went away. The results were so unbelievable in just 2 days, to the point where he used to have trouble standing up from a chair. After the 4 days, he'd sit on the floor and stand up by himself from the floor.
Wow.
The other result, which was absolutely extraordinary and I think worth mentioning, was Patricia, Patricia was in a boating accident, and she was thrown up into the air and fell back into the boat on her back. She
Hmm.
had to have emergency surgery, and rods were put all over her back. And when we were filming the movie, we were trying to decide who we wanted to, have participate. And my brother said, "Hey, let's use Patricia because she's had this accident." And I said, "There's no way, because this isn't emotional. This is an accident. She was in a boat. She got thrown on. The rods are there. It's a physical problem. Tapping is not going to help." And my brother said, "Jess, I really think you're wrong. There's a huge emotional element to how we recover from things. Let's just take the chance." And so when she came, we ended up doing a lot of tapping on she comes from a military family. So
Hmm.
for her, being her and having other people help her was really, really hard. And
Yeah.
so we did a lot of tapping on the feelings of, excuse the ambulance. I'm in New York City, but it kind of works for what we're talking about. We did she did a lot of tapping on what it felt like to have her, father help her use the bathroom,
Hmm.
or you know what I mean, like having someone always need to help her, and also that feeling that your life changes in an instant. It was a first date. It was a blind date that she went on, and so that those emotions around what if I made a different decision, and constantly playing that what if, what if.
Hmm.
And once she let go of that emotionally, she recovered to the point where she didn't have to wear her back brace anymore. And she said something that was amazing. She said, when you suffer with back pain, your whole life revolves around that. So if you go to the movie theater, you're thinking about, okay, well, what are the chairs like?
Hmm.
How long is the movie? And she's like, now I don't have to think about it anymore. So those were two results, which one was something that a pain that came over time with age, and another one was something that happened right away. And both of them got great results with EFT.
Fantastic, fantastic. How about your own experiences with EFT? How has it helped you in your own development?
Every day I'm using it for something different. But the way that I learned EFT was, I was really sick with the flu, and I just couldn't get over this cold. And my brother came up to me and he said, I was literally in bed. So he came to bed and he's like, "Heard that you've been really sick. I learned this technique. It's a little weird, but give it a try and see if it helps you."
Hmm.
So I began tapping on my symptoms, and all of a sudden, I just burst into tears. Because the thing
Wow.
about tapping is it really helps you connect with your body and with your emotions.
Hmm.
And he said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I realized I don't want to get better." And he's like, "Well, why don't you want to get better?" And I said, at that point, I had dropped out of college. I was doing this kind of alternative career path that just wasn't working out. Nothing was going my way. It felt like the more that I was trying, the more things weren't working out. And so I started tapping on that feeling like I'd made a big mistake and that my life would never start. And that feeling of just feeling like, to be completely honest, that like God had given up on me, that I was just so lost and couldn't find guidance. And as I started tapping on that, I had this massive shift, inside of my core. And I've done hypnosis and all these other things, and I never felt a shift like that. And I took a deep breath in, and my sinuses had cleared up.
Hmm.
And then I went on with my life, and I forgot about it. But a few months later, I was going through a breakup, and it had nothing to do with a physical problem. I was just, I couldn't get out of my head. I couldn't stop thinking. And this, I'm a thinker, and that's, I was born overanalyzing everything. And one of the things that tapping helps those who think do is get out of the head and more into the heart, and stop that constant, repeating of, what if, or what should I do this, or overthinking things.
Hmm.
So in that case, I use tapping on a daily basis with anything that I'm stressed and nervous about, especially when I have to go on stage, any type of public speaking or any type of performance.
Yeah.
I tap, and it gets me really centered and clear.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to that. Just remembering to the very first time we met, which was I think about 6 years ago, at the Speakers Academy. I was what got me through that Speakers Academy was the tapping, because I had a lot of I don't know, blockages there around speaking in public. So, and the tapping really helped me get through that and get to the end feeling a huge victory. And I think if it wasn't for the tapping, I don't know what would have happened, but I don't think I would have
Wow.
finished so good.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
Mm,
great.
yeah, yeah. Um, so you're at the minute you're doing you're in the middle of a summit at the minute, the Pain World Summit, the Pain Relief World.
Yeah, the Pain Relief World Summit. Yeah, so we're closing out, I guess in the next couple of days. And what I'm excited about is I volunteer every Sunday at a cancer center that does free alternative therapies for cancer patients. So
Hmm.
a lot of times they're so overwhelmed with medical bills and they're going the common route that they're not looking into the alternative things. So I do tapping with them, and now until the closeout, we're donating 100% of proceeds to help fund the center for a year. So we do these big events, the Pain Relief World Summit. We do the Tapping World Summit once a
Hmm.
year, which is just about a great way to learn about tapping in all different areas.
Hmm.
And each big event has an awesome. Each event is free, and you can choose to buy it if you enjoy it. And then we have a huge kind of charity component that for me just makes it so rewarding and fun.
Awesome. And I know you're doing some tapping with the cancer patients. Is that right? Yeah.
I
And
am, yeah.
how's that going? Is it something where is it just helping with coping with cancer, or is it actually possible to aid in healing cancer?
Well, the approach that I take is giving them as much emotional support as possible. But there are amazing physical results. Like the last Sunday, I was working with a woman who a lot of these women are doing traditional radiation and chemotherapy,
Hmm.
and some of them aren't. But this woman was doing the traditional route, and she looked like a skeleton. There's just nothing to her, and she was so weak that I had to tap on her. Usually, I guide people and I have them mirror me,
Yeah.
but she was just so weak that I started tapping on her. And the emotion that really came up is that feeling that it never ends. Because the thing about a diagnosis of cancer is that it's not, there's no begin. I mean, there's no end, there's no clear end, there's no
Mm.
clear finish line. So you get to the point where they say you're fine, but then there's something else that you need to do, or the results aren't coming back the way that you'd hoped for, and you feel like you're doing everything you can
Mm.
right. And so she wasn't able to use the bathroom, which is really, constipation is common when you're going through
Hmm.
radiation and chemotherapy. That was making her very sick. So we began to tap and really got to the emotion, to the point where she was crying about this feeling like it will never end. Um, and she was able to have just this huge emotional release. And then something touches her stomach and goes, I need to use the bathroom. I walk her to the bathroom and she's able to go, which
Wow.
is huge.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
that's just such a huge physical component, so important. So I am seeing, I'm doing the tapping on the emotional things, and I'm seeing how the body is responding.
Hmm.
I just did a talk about using tapping with cancer, and the biggest focus was that when you are diagnosed with cancer or any major diagnosis, we hear words like fight, survivor, and so your whole body gets threatened, that it starts running on this fight or flight response,
Hmm.
so it begins to fight. And so that what's very common with cancer patients is insomnia, huge problem. And
Hmm.
the insomnia starts after the diagnosis. So we know that it is not actually a result of the disease, it's a result of the trauma of the
Yeah.
diagnosis.
The stress
And
hormones.
so,
And yeah.
absolutely. And so, what happens when you have cancer or any illness, rest is essential. You
Hmm.
need to give your body that time to rest and relax. And unfortunately, with a diagnosis like that, that's the opposite of what people are doing, because they don't feel like it's safe to relax. They feel like they have to continuously fight or be researching about what to do or reading.
Mm.
And so, in the Pain Relief World Summit, I did a long talk and a lot of tapping on learning that it's safe to
Hmm.
relax and to do nothing and to have faith, and to be calm,
Yeah.
which I think is really essential to the recovery process.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to get the tension out of the body in order to heal. If the body's got tension, then it can't heal, it can't relax. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
makes total sense. Mm. And how much do you see, or do you think that the emotions and the beliefs are actual the causative agents to the actual disease, um, rather than just something that can help bring down the anxiety or the stress?
It's as in did the stress result in the cancer. Are you
Yeah,
almost?
the beliefs that we
Yeah,
have, the emotions that we have actually result in the cancer. Because we all know that certain things are good to help heal. Nutrition, things like that,
yeah.
the rest, etc. But the actual cause, what causes it, can it be a lot to do with the emotions and beliefs?
Well, I have no doubt that your emotions impact everything, and we're constantly underestimating the power of our emotions. Constantly, we get sick, and we tend to look at everything else except how we're emotionally feeling. Cancer is a tricky thing because 50 years ago, not as many people were being diagnosed with cancer. So, my personal approach, and I'm not a doctor, and I wouldn't even call myself an expert, but my, you know, feeling with it is that it's the toxicity, all the toxins that we have around us,
Hmm.
and stress is a huge component. And with everything that's going on in our life, we're creating this perfect storm that creates cancer.
Hmm.
The tough thing about saying, a lot of people are very vocal with saying there are emotions that cause cancer, and to take responsibility and say that you created this. And I think there's something said like for that. And I've heard a lot of people who've gotten to the point where they say that cancer has become their greatest teacher, and that
Hmm.
they own it, and they say I attracted it into my life to be my teacher. The thing that you have to be very careful with is other people hear this information, and then suddenly they start piling the guilt, of like, what could I have done
Yeah.
differently, what kind of beliefs. So they start blaming different people.
Hmm.
So I think when it comes to any major diagnosis that can be so life threatening, what I've seen work with these women is to really bring in the spiritual component of bringing in the lessons, but also, Carolyn Mace has a great book about soul contracts. And a lot of times, if we try to continuously figure out why we got it, I think that contributes to us being stuck, instead of going, okay, well, here I am now. What can I do about
Yeah.
it? And how can I heal and move forward? But to answer your question, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that our emotions are a huge component and create that perfect storm that
Hmm.
can result to a serious diagnosis.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Great insights there, Jessica. Thanks. So let's get into it now.
Yes.
How to do EFT and exactly how it works. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. So let me first go through where the tapping points are. And it's great that we're doing video, because everybody that's watching this, you can see where we're tapping, and I hope that you tap along with us.
Hmm.
So the very first point is beside the hand, and it's the karate chop point. So you want to tap right here with your four fingers. And it doesn't matter what hand you use. So you can use, your right or your left side. This is the first point. The second point is your eyebrow point, and it's right where the hair of your eyebrows begin, right? And it's a really light tap. It says tap, 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 like that. Then the side of the eye, which is right where the bone is. A lot of times people tap a little bit too outside on the temple, but you want to be right on the bone. And then you're going to
That's the
follow
question.
that.
How important is it? How close we tap to the actual point? Does
You
it make a
know,
big difference?
it is such a forgiving technique. I see people and then they start tapping. I go, ooh, like that is not even close. But they say that they're getting some results because they're stimulating, at least stimulating some of the right meridian points.
Hmm.
Um, to like, I will say that you have meridian points all over your body. This specific algorithm has been shown to get more people the most results.
Yeah.
But when this form of tapping first came about, it was called thought field therapy by Dr. Roger Callahan.
Hmm.
And depending on your problem, you would tap on different points.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that you have to study it, but this is a simple algorithm anyone can use. So it is very forgiving. So just
Okay.
see if you're getting results is the best way to see if it's working. So it's right on the bone, and then you follow that same bone under your eye, and you tap right underneath the eye. And then the next point is under the nose. Then the chin point, which is right on the crease between the lips and the chin.
I'll tap too.
Yeah,
I
right
never miss an
there.
opportunity to tap.
Yeah, no, good thing. And then the next point is the collarbone point. Some people get stuck, but the best thing is to use your whole hand and tap where a man's bow tie is, because you're just gonna, if you just tap on your whole chest, you're gonna hit the point.
Hmm.
The next point is underneath the arm, and for women, it's right where your bra strap lies, and men, you can measure it because it's a hand width from your armpits. And for a lot of people, this is really sore. So find that sore spot, and then on top of the head. And this is where a lot of meridian points, they all go on the side of the body, they connect on the top of the head. It's a great place to end. So that's the basic tapping points. And now let me tell you about the psychology aspect to it, because tapping is really a combination of ancient Chinese acupressure points with modern psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So the way you start tapping on the side of the hand, you say the setup statement. And the setup statement is, even though, and you list the problem. So even though I have this headache, or even though I can't sleep, I accept myself. Or some people say, I deeply and completely accept myself.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, this is when the technique gets a little weird. They're like, wait a second, I don't accept myself, because a lot of people have this idea that accepting yourself, saying that you're not going to get better, that you're accepting mediocrity, or you're accepting a problem, that you're supposed to fight through it, and accepting is the last thing you're supposed to do. But what happens is a lot of people hear the saying, what you resist persists.
Mm-hmm.
So as we continue to fight our emotions and push ourselves, that begins to work against us. So by saying that I accept these feelings, you begin to neutralize judgment you have about the feelings, and the feeling begins to lose power. What this also helps you do is give yourself the opportunity to be more honest with yourself, because if you accept the problem, then you start to get more insights on what might be behind the problem and what might really be going on. So it is called the setup statement because it sets yourself up for the entire process.
Yeah.
So you say that 3 times while you tap on the setup statement, and then you tap on the rest of the points while you say how you feel. This is the opposite of positive thinking. You want to get as not negative, but you just want to get honest. So if you swear in your head and you're awful to yourself, this is your opportunity to just give that a voice and to tap. You're playing that tape that you have inside of your head. It's things that you're already thinking, but you're saying it out loud, and by stimulating the points, you're clearing that energy. So you want to say how you feel to bring up the energy that you want to clear.
Mm-hmm.
If someone is stuck on the words, pretend that you're complaining to your best friend. Or if you just got, in a car accident and you're full-blown anxiety already, you don't even have to say anything. You can tap, because the energy that you want to clear is already really strong inside of your body.
Yeah.
And I know that your members are very advanced. They're very intelligent people. A lot of them probably already know about the law of attraction, which says, whatever you attract whatever you put out there. And a lot of people go, wait a second, how does this work with the law of attraction? If I'm saying negative things, doesn't that mean I'm going to attract more? Well, what's going on here is that you're just being honest, so you're already vibrating at that level. As much as you try to say those positive affirmations, they don't feel true because you have these limiting beliefs that are really taking up most of your energy. Yeah. So this is the opportunity to bring them up, address them, to let them go. And then you can bring in positive affirmations because there's room for them. So let's do some tapping together, and that way everyone who's watching can tap along and experience it. What do you think we should tap on? What do you think your members would enjoy to do some tapping on?
Probably, I think pain is a great one because it's something that we can see a difference in straight away, and it's something that pretty much everybody has. Some sort of pain, whether it's a shoulder ache or a backache or a knee ache or a headache or whatever. Most people have pain at some stage, right?
Absolutely. Okay, we can do that. And so when addressing pain, there are 2 different doors you can go through. The first one is just tapping on the symptom. So you don't even have to go to the emotion, but you just say, even though I have this back pain, and then you start describing the pain. The other way that you can tap is to go more into the emotional aspects. But let's actually start on the symptoms because that's a great place to start. It is very helpful to be specific. So if you have a back pain, ask yourself, is it a sharp pain? Is it a burning sensation? Is it on your right side, the left side? How would you describe it to get very clear? So since we're not actually, do you have any pain right now, or we can just we can pretend so people can get an idea?
I sometimes get a bit of back pain, neck pain, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So when you get the back pain, where is it usually in your back?
It actually fluctuates different parts of the back. At the
Okay.
minute, I can feel twinges right in the middle of my back.
Okay, so
Hmm.
twinges in the middle of the back. So that's exactly all this is using your words. So we'd tap on the side of the hand
Hmm.
and just repeat after me. And everybody that's watching, tap along, repeat after us, but just keep in mind your own pain and keep track of how it feels. What's really helpful to do is to measure it. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how intense does the pain feel? 10 being the worst pain ever, 1, you barely feel it. Matthew, I get the sensation that it's pretty low for you already.
Let's say four.
It's a 4. Okay.
Let's say a four. Yeah.
So you say you called it a twinge?
A twinge.
It
Yeah.
was a twinge. Okay.
Twinge.
So even though I have this twinge in the middle of my back,
Even though I have this twinge in the middle of my back,
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
Even though I have this twinge in the middle of my back,
Even though I have this twinge in the middle of my back,
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
Even though I have this twinge in the middle of my back,
Even though I have this twinge in the middle of my back,
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
Okay, now eyebrow point. So now we're just going to describe the pain. So this twinge in the middle of my back,
Twinge in the middle of my back.
side of the eye. This pain is always moving around.
This pain is always moving around.
Under the eye. Now it's in the middle of my back.
Now it's in the middle of my back.
Under the nose. This twinge in the middle of my back.
This twinge in the middle of my back.
Chin. It's always moving around.
It's always moving around.
This pain in my back.
This pain in my back.
Under the arm. This twinge in my back.
This twinge in my back.
Top of the head. It's always moving around.
It's always moving around.
Okay, now take a deep breath. Now we just did one round, and a lot of times, for those that are listening, you want to just continue tapping before you check in. But Matthew, did you feel any sensation at all as you move your back? It was still a 4? Did it move? Did it stay the same?
It actually feels a little bit more flexibility around that area now. Yeah, slightly more
Okay.
flexibility, yeah. Where it would have been slightly more stiff before, so now it's a bit more flexibility there. Yeah.
And one thing to know that we can't figure out why this happens, but literally thousands of people have had this experience where they begin to tap on a pain, and it's called chasing the pain because the
Hmm.
pain begins to move. So someone will have a pain in the lower back, and they'll say, I was working with someone and they had a pain actually in their neck. No, actually, it was in their back. And then it moved to the top, and then it moved. So we were literally chasing it and saying,
Hmm.
okay, now the pain in my upper back, and it ended up in their neck.
Yeah.
And then they had this memory of having awful neck pain when they had what is that disease that you get with ticks? When a tick bites
Limes.
you, Lyme disease.
Hmm.
They had Lyme's disease, which a lot of times like you get a lot of physical like muscle pain and spasms.
Right.
And so he had this memory of the spasm in his neck. And so we cleared the memory and the frustration of over having the Lyme's disease,
Hmm.
and the pain went away. But we had to chase it from the back all the way up to the neck.
Yep.
And so, that sometimes happens, and it's just important to be persistent.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. That's definitely an important distinction, I think, because there's so many people that have, well, not so many people, but there's people that have said to me, "Oh, I tried EFT and it didn't work," and I would say, "Well, how long did you try it for?" And so, 5 minutes, tap for 5 minutes, and then that was it. So you got to be persistent,
absolutely.
on
If you're not getting results, the two things that you should do is to be more specific. And a lot of people will start tapping on, even though I'm depressed, but see, that is just so your energy system doesn't really get depression, but it gets sadness over, my boyfriend breaking up or losing my job. And if someone is listening to this and they go, well, Jessica, I have a long list of things that are leading to me feeling this way, break them down and focus on one thing at a time and measure that.
Hmm.
And that's usually, if people aren't getting results, 90% of the time it's because they're not being specific enough. The second thing that you should do is to ask yourself questions to get to the root of the problem. A lot of times we're angry at our boss and we think that it's our boss that's driving us crazy. But when we ask ourselves, what does this remind us of? We might say, it reminds me of that time in school when the teacher put me on the spot and I didn't know the answer, and I felt like she put me on the spot just to embarrass me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have a similar situation with a boss, it tends to impact you way more. You get really angry, but what you need to do is to tap on that first memory.
Okay.
Some people might be listening to this and going, well, I don't have a good memory of my childhood. I don't like I don't some people just don't have that good of a memory. But what I find happens is that when you begin to tap, you'll naturally begin to remember. So start where you are, start with the memory that you have, and then ask yourself, what does this remind me of? When did this happen before?
Mm-hmm.
If it happened, another great question is, what is the downside of letting go of this problem? So I have used tapping so much for procrastination. I am like a procrastinator, or I was a procrastinator. And I used to ask myself, what's the downside of getting this project done? Well, then the issues of, well, if I get something done, then people can judge it. If I never, and a lot of people out there, they've been writing a book for 10 years.
Mm.
But when you ask them, what's the downside of finally finishing that book? Well, if it's done, people can judge it.
Yeah.
What if it's not good enough? What if people don't like it? So ask yourself, what's the downside? What's the downside of getting rid of this knee pain? Well, if I get rid of the knee pain, then and I have so much trouble saying no to people, I won't have the knee pain as an excuse to say no, I can't go out, or saying no, and being able to take care of myself. So even physical pain, some good stuff comes from it. People take care of you. People have sympathy. You have an excuse to get out of things that you don't want to do. If you get rid of your knee pain, then you have to go back to work, or you'll have to go for that big goal that scares you.
Mm-hmm.
So really doing that searching is going to help you get clear on what to tap on.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is to do some tapping on some emotional components that have to do with a certain pain. So, yours is I don't want to, we don't have to go, I don't want to put you on the spot. Do you want to, I can ask you if an emotional element comes to mind, or I can share with you some really common ones that I've seen with clients that might resonate with the listeners.
Well, I think the one that comes up, and maybe it's because you shared it, is procrastination. Is that would you call that emotional in procrastination, or is that something that?
No, it's absolutely emotional. So do you think that procrastination, though, do you think there might be a link between your back pain? Well, actually, let's do tapping on procrastination, but I do want to end when it comes to the tapping on the physical pain. Like I said before, ask yourself, if this pain was a person, who would it be? What does this remind me of? If this pain was an emotion, what would it be? And that will help you figure out the emotional elements. And you might find that you're tapping over this anger you have, over your, anger, like this fight you had with your spouse, that you think, well, this has nothing to do with my back pain. But if that's coming to mind, then it means your subconscious is creating that, is letting you become aware that there's a connection there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So procrastination. Okay. So is there a specific thing that you're procrastinating on?
Writing. Yeah.
Writing. Okay. Yes. Okay. So I'll ask you the really basic, great question about writing and procrastination. What is the downside of getting it done?
The downside of it not being successful, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
The downside
Okay.
of getting it done, and then it being so much effort and there not being success from it.
Right. That's a great thing, especially people who are, entrepreneurs or doing something that are new. There's no guarantee that things are gonna work out, and so it's easy to procrastinate of this fear of, well, is it worth the pain? Is it worth all the hard work? Now, and I'm going to say, because you're a fitness guy, a lot of people are using your website, to learn more about their health. A lot of people are procrastinating on their health. And so some of it is, well, if I do everything that Matthew says and I really change my lifestyle, what if I still don't lose the weight? Or, what if I do all this stuff and suddenly my friends won't relate to me anymore because my friends are out eating fast food, and now suddenly I lose that connection with them. So, I want to tie into health because I know that's what your members are here for. A lot of people are procrastinating with their health because they're scared of what that might mean to their entire life and to their social group if it
Yeah.
actually works. So they're
Yep.
fearing the success just as much as failure.
Hmm.
So, so let's tap on the side of the hand. So, just repeat after me. Even though I'm procrastinating,
Even though I'm procrastinating,
because I have this fear
because I have this fear
that I might get it done and it won't be successful,
that I might get it done and it won't be successful,
I accept myself anyway.
I accept myself anyway.
Even though I'm procrastinating,
Even though I'm procrastinating,
because I have this fear around success,
because I have this fear around success,
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
Even though I'm procrastinating,
Even though I'm procrastinating,
because I fear it won't be successful,
because I fear it won't be successful,
I accept myself.
I accept myself.
So eyebrow point, and I remember this all about being honest. So I'm procrastinating with my writing.
I'm procrastinating with my writing.
Side of the eye, I can think of a million other things I'd rather do.
I can think of a million other things I'd rather do.
Under the eye, and sometimes I do a million other things besides
And
writing.
and sometimes I do a million other things beside writing.
Does that feel true? Like you want to write and then you end up doing other things because you're procrastinating?
Yeah, you find other things to do, yeah.
Other things to do. All this procrastination.
All this procrastination.
Writing is such hard work.
Writing is such hard work.
And there's no guarantee that it will pay off.
And there's no guarantee that it will pay off.
Under the arm, there's no guarantee that it will pay off.
There's no guarantee that it will pay off. That seems very true, by the way, when you said that, yeah.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Thank you for letting me know that. So I'd rather do other things.
So I'd rather do other things.
So we'll do another round because this might not pay off.
Because this might not pay off.
Side of the eye, and I've done other things. I've done things in the past.
I've done things in the past
Under the eye that haven't paid off.
that haven't paid off.
Does that feel true?
Yep.
Under the nose, and I don't want to. I don't want to do that again.
And I don't want to do that again.
Chin, I've gone down that road,
I've gone down that road.
and I don't want to do it again.
And I don't want to do it again.
There's no guarantee that this will work.
And there's no guarantee that this will work.
Top of the head. So I don't have a desire to work on this.
So I don't have a desire to work on this.
Even though part of me feels like it should.
Even though part of me feels like it should.
All right, take a deep breath in. Yeah, how'd that feel? Any thoughts came up while you were tapping?
Yeah, it became more clear. The words that you used there seemed very very clear and very true. What I have been feeling and what has been making me procrastinate was that there's no guarantee that it will be successful. You know, that's
Right.
yeah.
And what's really good too is if you find that you have a fear, to ask yourself whether that's happened before. You know, whether you we've all been there. We put our heart and our soul into something that ends up not working out,
Hmm.
and then you wonder, well, I just don't want to go down that. I want to avoid that pain.
Yeah, that came up as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So so what I would invite you to do is then after the call to continue doing that tapping to the point where you can think about that memory and not have that kind of icky feeling of, oh, I don't want that to happen again. I know that a lot of people I love positive affirmations, and I know a lot of people out there like them as well. Once you start tapping and you get to the point where you're below a 2 or a 3, then you can start tapping and say positive affirmations. And I think that's really helpful because there's something about the tapping that really helps you almost absorb that affirmation because now there's room for it. But be very aware with how you feel when you say it. So if suddenly you start saying, I feel like clear and ready to take action on this goal, and you say that out loud, but you still get that gut feeling of, oh, it doesn't feel true, or if there's something in your body that doesn't resonate with you, then don't say it and go back to, how you're really feeling.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So, yeah, of course.
Um, can we just want to go into just I think some questions that people might have is the tapping on the karate chop point for the setup phrase. Is there a purpose why we tap on the karate chop point, or could we tap on a different point for that? Um, and just can you just talk a little bit more deeper just about the setup phrase?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to the some people in the tapping community, there's actually a little bit of a divide. Some people think that you don't need to say the setup statement. What I find is if you just go into the tapping, you can still get results. But there's something about the accepting yourself that is so tough that it really kind of throws you more into the process,
Uh-huh.
and brings up a lot more emotions. I remember the first time I had to say, even though I feel so lost, I accept myself. It's like I couldn't get the words out.
Mm.
It was painful to say, and that helped me target it. When it comes to tapping on the you know this point, to completely honest with you, is that is the way that Roger Callahan and Gary Craig had been using it. But a
Mhm.
lot of times what their results are is very experimental. We know that these meridian points make a huge difference with your energy system, but this is a very experimental thing. So if someone wants to do the setup statement on another point, I absolutely invite them to do it. But there's no clear reason except that they found that people are getting results by starting on the side of the hand.
Okay, great. Are there any other, I suppose, maybe deeper insights that you've experienced or received with tapping, or anything else you'd like to share, Jessica,
Absolutely.
with us?
Well, the thing about when you learn anything new is I want people to actually use this. So if someone's watching this, my hope is that they've learned enough that they can actually implement it. So a lot of people, they actually try to do too much and they go, okay, I'm going to sit down for an hour and do an hour session with myself. I would start with doing 5 minutes and start with something basic. So don't go to the childhood trauma at first. Start with that fear of public speaking, that nervousness about something or a worry, and simply tap for 5 to 10 minutes. And most people will find a difference with that. But start small.
Hmm.
If you're dealing with something that's really serious, it does help to go with a practitioner. Really, what a practitioner does is they help you ask those really great questions to get clear on what's behind the problem, and it also helps you be consistent with it and tap for a full hour. So I work with someone once a week, but when I tap by myself, it's usually just for a few minutes on the subway.
Hmm.
It's good advertisement too. I'm not even embarrassing. I'll totally tap in public.
Yep.
um, but start small. So my first piece of advice is just after letting this interview, just tap for 5 to 10 minutes.
Hmm.
Constantly be asking yourself questions. What's the downside of getting rid of this problem? What does this problem remind me of? Also, have faith in your thoughts. If you're tapping on something and suddenly the day that your dog died when you were 13 years old comes to mind, but you're thinking, what does that have to do, with me being mad at the woman at the DMV? Just have faith. A lot of times we don't understand why our mind is making the
Hmm.
connections, but just have faith that you are, your mind is this very powerful, mechanism
Hmm.
that is going to help you start making the connections. And the other tip to make this easy to implement is to write things down. So if you're someone who, after listening to this call, you feel overwhelmed because there's so many different aspects that you want to tap on, write them down
Hmm.
and break it up, one by one. And the other piece of advice, because everyone here is about living a healthier life, uh, target what you're struggling with. If you're struggling with sugar addictions,
Hmm.
with eating too much sugar, tap on simply the sugar addiction, and then ask yourself, what's the downside of not eating this chocolate? And something that comes to mind is, well, that chocolate is a moment of self-care. When I'm by myself and I get to sneak that chocolate, a lot of people eating bad, it actually feels like they're taking care of themselves. They're giving themselves that moment.
Hmm.
So ask yourself, why do you need that moment if there's other ways to find that moment?
Yeah.
And to use tapping that way. So there's so many different ways to use it, but the key is to ask yourself questions, make it simple, tap for 5 minutes, and write things down and start crossing them off.
Awesome, awesome, great recommendations, great advice. Thank you, Jessica. Where can we find out more about you?
The Our website for the film is thetappingsolution.com.
Hmm.
It's a great community. If you sign up for the newsletter, you get a tapping diagram and all this other information. I also do a lot of tap along audios that people can tap along with.
Hmm.
And we also do these yearly events. So I definitely recommend for everyone to sign up for the newsletter because we give a lot of free goodies. And yeah, the tappingsolution.com. And you can also find me on, connect with me on Facebook.
Okay, just facebook.com
Just,
forward slash Jessica Ortner.
it's actually following Jessica Ortner. Yeah, but
Okay.
if you just search Jessica Ortner, I'll pop up.
Okay, wonderful. And do you have anything planned for the future, books or anything you're going to be doing? Is there anything else coming
Yeah,
up?
there is a book about tapping that my brother. So I work with both my brothers,
Hmm.
and my brother is coming out with publishing a book about tapping, and just doing a lot of other events and doing. Right now I'm working on some tapping CDs with music, so it's kind of
Cool.
meditative tapping where you follow along and tap along with me.
Great, great. Awesome. Thanks very much, Jessica. That was wonderful. Thank you for putting me on the spot there with that as well. It's definitely
Yeah.
given me
Thank
something to think about and something to tap on straight away after this.
What
Yeah.
it was a real pleasure. I love it. Like I said before, I'm a huge fan. I love everything that you're doing,
Oh, thank you.
and thank you so much for having me.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for watching, listening. My name is Matthew Armstrong. Make sure you tune in next time to Transformation Talk.